Yes, here we are again. So today we're going to talk about buy and build. We briefly spoke about it last podcast. So over here we got Michael again. Michael, you're so excited to see me again, aren't you?
I'm always happy to see you. That's why I'm not smiling at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, because you've been smiling so many times during the day, all the meetings that we do together, isn't it?
Exactly.
So we briefly spoke about it last time, and actually, what we want to tap into today is more the differences between buy or build inside of the financial technology realm. We see it a lot. We've seen it a lot happening within companies before, and today we're going to talk about the differences and how to choose and how to select with real life examples on what we've experienced ourselves and what we also think is the best for your business. So, Michael, what do you think? Buy or build?
I think it depends. I think the reason why we're doing this today is because we had an elaborate discussion after our last podcast when you should buy or build. We talked quite a bit about when to buy or build. When we talked about what do we consider core technology and what is not core technology. And I think when we started talking afterwards, we actually really said, well, we probably should spend some more time on this.
Yeah.
I think the common consensus was from our previous conversation is that if you want to scale quickly and fast, building can accelerate your curve, right? It can accelerate your go-to-market, can accelerate your growth. If you want to create depth and you want to create differentiation, and you have the capability, building would be the strong preference. Because when you build it, you can build it for what you want to achieve for your client, for your customers. And I also wanted to lean in a little bit with you, because I've been probably more on the buying side than anything else. Companies I've worked in, several fintech companies, both operating internationally. Fintechs in general have a very strong preference to build it themselves, because it's usually customized to the extent that it's really difficult to take an out-of-the-box software off the shelf. But your experience obviously is that you've been involved in a lot of building. So I want to kind of pass the ball back to you to kind of kick off a little bit of the examples, how beneficial it can be to work with a third party to help you build. Right? Because we are maybe wrongly making the assumption I either buy something off the shelf or I build something myself. There's something in between. That is that based on your business requirements, you mix internal and external capacity to go build it. I call it hybrid. Maybe you call it something different, but a solution in between.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you're mentioning. It's a hybrid. We're always looking for the hybrid models within our organization if we advise companies to do. And the reason is very simple. I mean, every business in its core and its foundation is actually the same, how they operate, or at least how they have to operate to maximize output. If you
Yeah.
look at all the different departments inside of organizations, HR departments, integrations, CRM systems, you name it. The only downside is of the systems that are off the shelf is that it's a one size fits all. So it
Yeah.
doesn't fit the needs of the 20% that makes your business different, or makes your business unique, or gives you that competitive edge. So in most cases, the hybrid model is the best. And the hybrid model is you can buy something that you can take off the shelf, you have a fast go to market, and then you build on top of it, right?
Yeah.
We call it the third party ecosystem. We're a very big fan of the third party ecosystem. What can you use? What can you integrate? What is already existing? And how can you quickly turn that into something that fits the unique demands of your business and your operations? So if we look at examples, right, we've seen it also in fintech, is you have off-the-shelf solutions, payment service providers that fit a specific purpose, they solve a specific solution. But then you want to do more with your payments, right? What are you going to do, right, Michael? What are you going to do? Then you want to build the custom layers on top of it, and you go
Yeah.
more towards a hybrid model. So it's something that you can buy off the shelf, pay as you go, but then you want to have more capabilities out of that off the shelf solution, and you're going to build on top of that. By building on top of that, you have the advantage of the off the shelf solution, but also the advantages of the customization.
Yeah, I think that's a really good explanation as well, because in when you specifically look at fintech and when you look at my background in payments, I think an interesting core business process comes to mind: reconciliation, right? It's reconciliation of payment data, which is very important for both the consumer who pays, and it's equally important for the merchant who processes and receives the payments. When you take that philosophical step back, it's kind of madness that thousands of payment processors built their own reconciliation engine, whereas the concept of reconciliation, specifically across the main payment methods, including credit cards, is very similar, if not
Yeah,
the same. So I think that is a typical case where taking a off-the-shelf standard, buy an off-the-shelf standard, makes a lot of sense. But to your point, customizing it in such a way that it really complements your platform and your capabilities, that's the secret sauce. And this is where you probably need to make that extra investment. And that's a good example of that hybrid.
yeah,
Another example of that hybrid, even when tech companies or fintech companies in particular build their own software, they still source third-party development expertise, because if you haven't done something, for example, a specific payment standard or a specific API or a specific feature, and you can work with a company who does that for a living, they will do it faster and better than you will ever do,
exactly,
and with more
exactly,
quality. So that's,
absolutely.
again, an example of a hybrid, right? The hybrid of off-the-shelf software, which you customize with a layer that really makes your own product shine more, right? That makes you stand out on the one hand. Or when you do build your in-house solution with your in-house development team, when it comes to specific expertise, you're going to source that with a particular development partner, which you've also done with your company. That's what I consider hybrid, right? Those are two examples of hybrids. One, utilizing off-the-shelf software, customize it, and one, bring in a specific expertise for an in-house build. And I think this is what we really didn't go into that much last week. And that's why I think it's very good that we're doing that today, because I don't think one excludes the other.
Yeah,
Sometimes, and it usually
absolutely.
doesn't.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of companies they struggle with this, right?
Yeah.
What do you decide? I mean, we see it all the time. Also, with the request for approvals, for proposals, is the selection criteria. Do we build something? Do we buy something? Why?
Yeah.
Why would we? Why would we not? I think a lot of companies and a lot of business leaders they're actually struggling making that decision, right? And I think today is also
I struggled when I was making those decisions.
there
So
you
I
go.
think you're
Yeah,
100% right.
yeah, and that is the thing. This podcast should be helpful for people to understand and make better decisions in selecting and making the right decisions. Are you going to buy? Are you going to build? And what are the benefits of both? Right, because both have their benefits.
Yeah.
Both have their pros and cons in terms of pricings, go to market, the value of the intellectual property that you
Yeah.
have. Don't forget that one is a very important one. Huh? The proprietary blend that you have if you build something yourself, but also the dependencies when you buy something, right? Buy the off-the-shelf solution,
Yeah.
especially with very critical business operations, you can become very dependent on their
It's a
uptime,
good
right? Their
point.
performance. Right? So,
Yeah.
so, so, how do you see that, Michael? What was in your experience how you would go about that back in the days?
Yeah. I think you're hitting the nail on the head with the last example, right? So let's go back to the example I gave regarding reconciliation. So one of the companies I work with, we had an internal reconciliation engine. We struggled to scale. We struggled to maintain. It wasn't our core process, but it was vitally important to deliver service to our clients. We actually went out and sourced a third-party solution. And we succeeded in sourcing that third-party solution. It wasn't easy. We actually recruited the advisory services of a specialized firm to help us select the right tool. One of the key selection criteria is that whereas we were buying the third-party software, the administration, the management, and the large extent of the configuration was done in-house, right? So that
Yeah,
knowledge was taken in-house so that on a day-to-day basis, we could operate the platform for 99.8% ourselves.
that's smart. Yeah.
Because if you don't, and for example, something stops working, the reconciliation process stops, there's exception handling errors, and you're dependent on a third party to solve you in your daily delivery, I think you've probably missed the purpose of the exercise. By that, I mean, then it's a bad example of sourcing third-party solutions. So that was one. And again, the reason why I can say that this was a good example, I've also have examples where we didn't do that. For example, by buying a solution that would create payment templates for us, right, in the XML format to be specific. And the maintenance of that was fully with a third-party provider, which means every time something changed or broke, we had to go to that third-party provider.
Yeah.
That's not a situation that you want with your daily payouts.
Yeah, that's a good point you're mentioning. I also see a lot of stories nowadays, which is funny, and I'm very curious about your opinion right now because nowadays, especially with AI,
Yeah,
the AI coders, everyone seems to be a programmer right now, a chief product officer, and builds their own
yeah,
versions that they actually think that they can launch fully in production. And you see a lot of. I read a story about one company, one particular company that decided to cancel one specific subscription that they paid, let's say, 800 a month for.
yeah,
So they were buying it. They wanted to have some customization. At least they thought they wanted to have it.
yeah,
We started no coding it with AI, so
yeah,
build it out the solution, then launched it to their sales team. Sales team started asking a lot of demands. It was not working, etc. They had to hire two full-time programmers, 20K
yeah,
a month each, and so they went from buying to building just because the advent of the AI and the AI hype and trend. What are your opinions on the difference now with AI and that everyone seems to become like a builder nowadays?
yeah. I think the challenge is what you said, that because of AI and because it really lowers that barrier to developing tools yourself, it
The
creates the belief
perceived
that
lower barrier, right? Because they think they can, but actually,
exactly it's a perceived lower barrier.
yeah,
So you're hitting the point that I'm going to hit now, is that the reality is that if you have a great working tool from a third party whose only job it is to make that tool better and to make sure that that tool is working with many of their clients, they're going to do a better job than you're going to do in-house, right?
100%. Yeah.
So then there's that price value discussion, right? The benefit discussion. So when you gave the example of, I have a good working tool for $800 a month, I would keep sourcing that good working tool for $800 a month because that ensures that I have continuity and quality of the tool that I'm using. If I'm paying somebody a license fee of $500,000 for something that is key to my product offering, I may look differently at that and say, look, I'm going to make that investment and I'm going to build something that works better for my business and that's worth an investment because I know that the savings over 5 years will be in excess of 2.5 million. So I have a budget to invest in replacing that third-party source solution. But when it comes to the specific example you gave, that a lot of companies use various softwares of the tool and the tooling works very well, you always need to look at the benefit. And in this case, it's a clear example of a bad decision because you're not going to be able to replicate that utility that you got from your third-party tool in-house. Not going to happen. But I do agree with you that you see this a lot. And I think you see this too much.
Well, it's actually becoming a new industry, right? The fixers, the AI code fixers. I think it's already $1 billion industry now nowadays. So it's actually funny. No, going back to the basics of this podcast, right? We were talking about the buy or build,
Yep.
and our advice that it should be a hybrid. I think it's good to tap into one of the specific examples or a scenario. Let's say you as an organization or as an entrepreneur, you have the idea to build a fintech app, let's say a neobank app.
Yep.
The thing you want to do is you want to have a thorough analyze of what are the elements, what are the
Yeah.
facets that you build and that you buy,
Yeah.
and with all the pros and the costs and the benefits attached to it, right? Because you want to have a clear overview of what's already existing. Just like you said, you don't want to reinvent the wheel for most things. You have perfectly well working know your customer solutions that you
Yep.
can
Yep.
directly integrate with very good APIs. Company, as you said before, they're super focused on only one thing, and that's making their KYC product better, right?
Yep.
One of the examples. The same thing would be for your core banking, right? Use the core banking that already exists, that's
Yep.
already proven and it's very, very reliable. Then look at the things that you would actually want to build yourself, which is what makes your product or
Yep.
technology unique and serves a specific purpose, either within your organization or for the consumers that you want to target, right? It's very important to take a lot of time in this phase. Would you agree?
I 100% agree. Specifically with the example that you give is that if you want to build that neobanking app and you start with building the core banking infrastructure on the back for ledger and account opening, maintenance, etc., the chances of you succeeding are slim to very small, right? Because
Yeah.
there's companies who do this a lot better and have this as you go. Similar to the example you gave about KYC. The key thing is, can you integrate that tooling in such a way that allows you to customize it to the extent that it provides benefits to your customers?
Can you build on top of it, right? Can you
Can you
integrate
build
it?
on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And subsequently, can you make the touch points with the consumer personalized in the sense that it's you as a company who is communicating with your customers. It's not the third party solution that gives that 13 in a dozen approach, like, all right, this is what we have from everybody, and it frustrates your consumer. And I think this is where that differentiation is. So going back to your point, is it's very much so worthwhile to think about this in advance, right? To have a calculated strategy. What do I want to build? What do I want to buy? And what am I going to develop in a hybrid modus? And the companies that get that right are most likely the companies that are going to be succeeding, because they are the ones who have the ability to both differentiate and build cost effective.
Exactly. They have best of both worlds, and the best of both worlds makes them very, very
Exactly.
fast, but also very robust, right? Which is eventually you want to have that formula, that mix that both makes you unique, but also doesn't give you the bill of building your own core banking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
And
you don't want to have. I mean, at least I don't. I don't think if you want it.
when customers in the end only care about delivery, does the service that I've purchased work well? If the answer is
Exactly.
yes, you've done a good job. If the answer is no, you failed at your job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that was it for today. I don't know if you have any last comment or one suggestion, Michael, that you would give away to the listeners of the podcast.
Yeah, I would. The key takeaway should be there is something between buying or building, right? So look at, is there a user case, is there a benefit to pursuing that hybrid modus? That hybrid modus is I source third party and I customize it. That hybrid modus I build in-house and I recruit external expertise for the best outcome. So I think when we position those decisions, it shouldn't be black and white. It should be black, gray, and white, being gray, the hybrid.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael, for today.
Very welcome.
And if any of the listeners want to have our templates that we use, the buy and build matrices inside of our organization, reach out to either Michael or me or the company, and we can provide you with all the materials that we use to select and decide what we're buying and what we're building. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice.